Welcome to the Writer Reads Flash Fiction. These are the readings taken from another 365 days of flash fiction. Today's reading is called Jendrel and the Dragon. Did you ever see a cloud shaped quite like that? Uzi asked, pointing to the sky. Quite like what? Jendrel turned, keeping the baby steady in its sling as he followed the direction of her pointing finger. Like that. Now Uzi sounded uncertain, almost afraid, and Jendrel tried harder to see what it was his sister was pointing at. That's not a cloud, he said, and his voice reflected fear. The baby stirred restlessly in his arms. What is it then? Uzi asked, all the curiosity of a 5-year-old, making her climb onto the nearest rock. It's a cloud dragon. Jendrel tried to reach her, to haul her off the rock and behind it. Cool! Hello, Mr. Dragon! Uzi shouted, jumping up and down on top of the rock and waving her arms. Uzi, no! This time the panic did reach her, and she stopped and turned around to stare. What, Jen? He's a friendly dragon. And she turned back around. See? And Jen saw all right. He saw the dragon coming in, grey and fast as an arrow, all spines and angles like a fighter jet. This time he didn't bother trying to grab his sister off the rock. This time he clambered up the rock to crouch beside her and wrap her in his arms, careful not to squash the baby in its sling. It wasn't as if hugging would do them any good. Uzi hugged him back, but she didn't take her eyes off the incoming dragon. Jen turned sideways so they could both watch it coming in across the grass. It was like watching a VTOL touchdown. 1 minute the dragon came to a swooping stop, folded, then flared its wings and landed lightly on the grass. And what brings you out here alone? It asked. The house catching alight, Uzi said. Jen took me and Kaz for walks until the fire goes out. Jen caught the dragon's eye, held its gaze as it asked his sister another question. And why weren't you asleep in bed? Like all the rest of them, Jen imagined it adding. He felt tears prickling the edges of his eyes. All the rest, and his nose started tingling. 'Cause I seed a glow grub, and Jen promised I could keep it if I could catch it, and I went and fetched him, but he was already awake and putting Kaz into her sling, and we had to go. Uzi's lower lip wobbled. And he said we would look for glow grubs here, but the one I saw got all burned up. A tear ran down her cheek. And I want my mama and dada. Jen knew exactly how she felt. He wanted their parents too, but they had gone out on an expedition and the colony had exploded, and he wasn't sure if his parents were ever coming back, and... Sorry, he said, realizing the dragon had spoken and he had missed it. And why were you awake? It asked, obviously repeating itself, and Jen blushed red to the roots of his hair. Couldn't sleep, he muttered, but Uzi shook her head. No, you had dreams again, she argued. I know you did. Dreams? The dragon asked. It's silly, Jen muttered, not wanting to explain. It just saved you and your sister's lives, the dragon pointed out. Tell me. Sometimes I dream things and they happen later. Today my whole dream was screaming fire and I had to get us out of the house. I thought I was being so dumb. He stopped. There wasn't time. He meant there wasn't time to warn the other colonists, that he'd taken Uzi and Kaz out the back door and down the garden, meaning to circle back to the comms tower at the shuttleport to see if everything was okay, that he'd gotten them halfway across the first pasture when the house had exploded behind them. Come down, the dragon said, interrupting him. I'm not going to eat you. Come, it said again when he hesitated, and Jen obeyed, Uzi bouncing down after him and running up to the dragon before he could stop her. You're big, she said, climbing up onto its front foot and wrapping a hand around its leg. The dragon bent its head to look her in the eye. And you are very small. Uzi giggled and played with its scales. Jendrel wondered if it was ticklish, but found himself encircled by a wing and drawn to the dragon's side. Come with me, it said, and only its wing draped across his back stopped him from running away. Jendrel swallowed down his fear. Where? He asked, aware of Uzi's big-eyed stare. To where other dreamers can help you as you grow. Its next glance took in the baby and his little sister. And to where these can be cared for while we try to discover if your parents survived. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the reading, please hit like. If you want to hear more, please hit subscribe. I'll check you later. Take care out there.